Hey guys, I finally finished the Trylle Trilogy by Hocking, and this is going to be my review video. Okay, I want it to be spoiler free, but this is going to be spoilers in this video. So if you have not read this book, yeah, you may not want to watch it, but I will try to contain myself. But the first book, Switched, begins with the main character, Wendy, at school, and the teacher is sending her to the principal's office because she fell asleep in class, and she's thinking over and over again that don't send me to the principal's office, don't send me to the principal's office, because she really doesn't want to have to get expelled from another school and upheave our family again when they hadn't even finished unpacking in the place they're living in now. So she's persuaded him by thinking that over and over again, I guess you want to call it, you find out later, that she has the power of persuasion, thanks to the guy named Finn, who lets her in on the fact that she's a changeling, which is technically a troll baby. It's a troll baby that has been swapped for a human baby. If you get the 3-in-1 book edition, it just calls them changelings on the back. It does not call them trolls. I had no clue this was about trolls when I first started reading it. It was like I got 2 or 3 chapters in, and well, it may have been longer than that, but it was only a few chapters in that I learned that this book was about trolls, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue reading, but I'd kind of liked the book so far, so I just continued on and on and on. And the first book goes on about how she meets her mother after, she's been attacked, and Finn's convinced her that the only way to protect her brother Matt and her Aunt Maggie is to leave with him and go back home to Ferine, I believe is what the society's name is called. Anyways, the first book basically covers her learning all the different things about becoming queen, because she learns this after she already gets there, that her mother is the queen and she's expected to one day rule, even though she does not want to. And you meet the characters Wendy, Finn, Rise, Tove, and Willa in this. And Elora the queen, but you don't really know a lot about Elora. She's really not there. She's more judgmental in this first book, where Wendy she starts off real selfish and she doesn't want really any responsibilities. Willa is kind of snobbish, and I really didn't like her character in the first book. Tove, you don't know much about him other than the fact that he keeps on moving things, and it's like you don't find that out why until later on. And Finn is her tracker, the person who is given the responsibility to find these changelings and bring them back home when it is time for them to come back home, which is normally around 16 to 18 years old. It's normally 18 because then they can get their inheritance, which the Trylle need to keep up their livelihood. More or less, they just don't want to work and they need this money so they don't have to work ever. It's pretty bad. But that's the reason the changeling thing has lasted as long as it has, is because they believe that they need the money, even though really they are so loaded that they can't even see, anything above their money. I don't know, it really sickens me. And anyways, her first run-in with the Vitra is also in the beginning of this chapter, or the beginning of the first book, and you don't really, the whole first book, people are trying to keep as much information from her as possible, and it is just driving her mad. Finn is also driving her mad because she feels like she really likes him, and he's pushing her away, saying, I'm a tracker, you're the princess, we cannot be together, and stuff like that. But Rise is actually her changeling, the human that got changed for her, which is not a big spoiler. I mean, it really isn't. You find that out, you don't find it out right away, but you find it out close enough. It's not really that big a deal. He's really happy and cheerful, and he sounds so cute. Moving on. Switched ends with Wendy taking Rise to meet her brother, mainly because she does not want to be queen and she thinks Rise deserves to be with his brother, since, you know, Wendy had been, you know, not hogging him, but she had grown up with him, and Matt had raised her really, so she wanted Rise to experience that. The next book, Torn, starts off with Finn and a new tracker who has been assigned to the princess named Duncan has come to get her. Well, she refused to go with them, so they leave, and soon after she's attacked by the Vitra again, where she meets Loki, which she doesn't really know much about him until after they get kidnapped and they're taken to Onderek, which is another troll kingdom. I guess the evil trolls, you would call them. But they're not all evil. It's mostly just the king, Oren, that's evil. So she had been really beaten up by the Vitra and needed healing, and that's how she meets Loki, and where she basically she comes with the idea to convince them to take her to the king so she can negotiate to get all of them out of there, not knowing that, this is a big spoiler, that her mother lied to her, and when she said her father was dead, she was lying big time, because her father is actually the king of Onderek, which is the king of the Vitra, which are the evil trolls that have been attacking and kidnapping her. Moving on through the second book, it basically goes on about her coming back, and Loki becomes she goes back to Farin after Loki lets her and her brother and Rise escape. And I don't know, it's really interesting the way, I mean, everything is laid out, and it makes you notice that really they have no security on these kingdoms at all. You can just bust in anytime you want, which is maddening. It's like, you're a king. I know you're like super strong and you think you're immortal, but you may need some guards, even if they are like hobgoblins. Hobgoblins are the ones that actually look like trolls. The Trylle and the normal trolls actually look like regular people, like on the cover. So they actually look like actual people. Some have green tinted skin, not many. But all of them have powers, which Wendy begins to experience in the second book, Torn. And she learns that if you do not use your powers, then you start going mad. I mean, crazy mad. And her mother, after Loki helps him escape, he breaks in again, and he's put under the control of the queen so that he cannot leave. And that uses a lot of Elora's strength, and she becomes very, very ill. And the powers, if you use them excessively, then you age. So it ages you very prematurely. So she's like 40 in the book, but she looks like she's 70. Which, I mean, at this point you don't really like Elora, but you do feel sorry for her to the point where she's trying to protect her kingdom. She's given so much to her kingdom, and to do that, she's basically killing herself. I believe the second book, where is it? Wendy is also, she sees the fact that she has to become queen, and the only way to do that is to marry Tove, whose mother is trying to gain the throne instead of Wendy. So nearing the end of this, they get engaged. She's doing what's best for her kingdom, and there's a big spoiler about Tove that I am not going to let out in this review, because it's just something you have to find out on your own, why that they can marry with no love lost, just friendship between each other, and why it stays that way, because they stay friends through the whole series. And the Kane Chronicles that I'm going to pick up soon, Tove is still there, and he's still helping Wendy, staying by her side. They are still friends, and you find that out in Torn. I believe it's in Torn. It's either in Torn or Ascend that you find that out why. In Ascend, it starts out with her birthday, which is her 18th birthday, and after that she'll be married soon after. So she has her she has this meeting with all the other important diplomats of the Trylle. In the beginning, the very first chapter, Loki breaks in again, and he's asking for amnesty. He's asking for amnesty, which I'm guessing, from what I looked up on the dictionary, it means forgiveness, but it could also mean the protection from the queen, the king, the Vitcher king. Because Loki comes in and he's beaten all to hell and back, and we don't know why. All we know is that he's asking the princess for amnesty. Well, after she gets him settled in and everything, she has her birthday party, she marries Tove, and she continues on with being a princess until Elora eventually dies. And when Elora dies, it's very traumatic for Wendy, and by that time, most of the readers, you've gotten to know Elora more and experience her emotions more, and you see that she really does love Wendy. She was just protecting her. The whole book Ascend is basically her ascend to the throne, and a lot happens. There's a lot of character, I won't say depth to it, because there really wasn't a lot of character depth, because you really only got Wendy's point of view. But a lot of people change. Like Willa gets changed by Matt. Finn kind of changes. He becomes a little bit more cold to Wendy, mostly because he can't get over his feelings for her, and really it's a big mess with Finn. But then you get Loki, which Loki, I gotta say, he sounds really hot for a fictional character. You know, he sounds really hot, and he's good-natured, he's always humorous, and he loves Wendy. I mean, he would run away with her and marry her if she would, but she rejected him, because at that point she was already fiancée to Trove. That's not, it's something we also, I mean, Finn should have done it. But anyways, her mother doesn't die until later on in the book, and as she's starting to learn the duties of a queen, her father is attacking all the other troll villages, and there's not much she can do. Anyway, she's doing her best to do what she thinks is right for the people, which is to get better homes for the trackers, and to make it so you can marry who you fall in love with without getting banished. And pretty much the whole banishment thing in general, she's trying to get rid of, except for, you know, like the bad people. And there's a thing where she wants to make it so the humans actually want to stay with them instead of leaving. And it's even part where she's trying to get the changeling thing to change, but she knows that's not going to happen right away. But anyways, I'm not going to give away much of the war, because if I say, it's such a short war that if I say anything, it'll give like half the book away, really. Well, not half the book, but the last like 5 chapters it will. The ending to this, I hated it. I really did. Because the last chapter, the epilogue, which takes place 4 months after the war happens, I mean, they're all home, it's telling us what they're doing and everything like that, which is a very clean way to end things. I mean, you're telling everything they've done over the past 4 months, and you're closing it off and weaning them out of it. But it's like, this paragraph right here at the very end made me want to read more about Wendy's story, because she started off hating being a princess. She didn't want to be a princess. She didn't want to be queen. She was fighting against it horribly in the first book, and then she started taking on responsibilities in the second book, and then she full out became the ruler while her mom was still alive but sick, in book 3. And the last sentence of the book says, that's the fun of being queen. So Wendy starts out really selfish and self-centered and not liking responsibility at all, to being a very sweet, honest, hardworking, very responsible girl that becomes queen. And this whole book series, all 3 of these books happen in the span of, I think, a year. It's not longer than a year, I know, because she's, I think, 17 somewhere in the front of the book, and then it's like she's 18 before you read, like, at the beginning of book 3. But I love this book series, and Amanda Hocking is an amazing writer. It's not very action-packed, and there's not really a climax, and you can never really tell what's going to happen next, which I love about a book. Not being able to tell what's going to happen next is the best thing about reading. It's like, wow, I had no clue that was going to happen. And it's like, yeah, I love that about books. So I would definitely read more of Amanda Hocking's books, and one of the reviews sums it up perfectly. Amanda Hocking knows how to keep readers turning the pages. And it is absolutely right. I could not stop turning the pages. I never wanted to stop reading this book, which sadly I had to. So yeah. Anyways, I'm going to pick up her other books soon, which is the Kane Chronicles. I'm going to be picking up this book soon. I have the second book of the series coming in the mail, which should be here after Labor Day weekend. But that's just how good this book series is. You just want to keep on reading, so you got to pick up the next book by her, and you just can't stop. I really can't. I'm going to have to pick this book up, if not tonight, tomorrow. But anyways, that is it for this review. I'm sorry if I spoiled too much, but I'm very new to reviews, so yeah. Sorry if I spoiled anything. I'm going to put spoilers like in the title so that people know that this will be spoilers in this. So, until next time, bye.